Here today, of course, after yesterday's wonderful show and all the great contributions. Thank you very much. I came up here today to start today's show, and of course, as Murphy's Law would have it, if something can go wrong, it probably will. So the way I set this show up is I have a hard drive that has all of the graphics for the show, everything, and that hard drive just fried. So gotta love it. If it wasn't, if it's not one thing, it's another. So we're gonna have no real graphic background today, doing a kind of a dark-looking show. Feels a little bit ominous. Let's see if I can add on another light here in the background. Maybe get rid of that. Yeah, make it look kind of eerie in the background. So I will hopefully get that hard drive fixed for my show with David Warner tomorrow, so we can have all our great graphics and screen setups. Otherwise, it's gonna be kind of a strange-looking show tomorrow. But that's what we got. It's what we're gonna deal with. So let's talk about the news events for the day. Obviously, great day for the markets. I'm sure most of you are enjoying these nice gains unless you're trading Bitcoin or crude oil. I know I need a good backup, Tofi. I actually have a hard drive somewhere. I just got to figure out which one it is because I've got dozens of hard drives. But yeah, there's a backup somewhere, although it's not current. I'm wondering whether it's just my new motherboard or something like that. So I'm going to do some work this week. Tonight, after trivia, I will be coming home and working on my computer, hopefully fixing that. So I know. It is a good background. You know, it's funny. I saw a really cool video. I was researching a subject called atomic swaps. I'm not sure if you guys understand what an atomic swap is, but in cryptocurrency, it's very difficult to trade Bitcoin for Ethereum and do it outright. You usually have to do it through what's called a wrapped token. But with atomic swaps, you can natively swap Bitcoin for Ethereum without ever having to use an exchange, a bank, or anything like that. And that's kind of a really interesting part that I was researching yesterday. But anyway, long story short, the guy had a solid white background, and that's all he had. There was nothing there, but it was just clearly green screen, kind of what I do. And who knows, I may switch that up and try something different. If you guys have, no more donations, guys. It's like, I appreciate it. If you have suggestions for look and feel, let me know, because if this hard drive does, in fact, crash out and I don't have a backup, I'll have to redo the whole graphics setup here, and I'm open to ideas. You know, when I built this out initially with all these different layouts and shots and screen settings, it was just kind of off the top of my head what would be fun at the time, but who knows? Maybe I can improve it, and you guys may have a hand there. You can always email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com. Let me know what things you might like to see. Okay, so my supervillain here, Jerome Powell, what did he do? Obviously, it was an ECB press conference today. We talked about that one kind of happening early in the day. I will bring up the S&P 500 here so we can take a peek at what happened on the 5-minute time frame, just so you can see the impact that Mr. Powell had. Now, he was speaking early this morning. We talked about that happening pretty much right as the markets opened. So from here, I don't exactly know when he spoke. I was not watching the speech, but obviously he made some very bullish comments about the U.S. economy, basically going to doubling down on what he said before, which was inflation is subsiding. We're feeling at ease. Now, he did say that doesn't mean we're going to be cutting rates right now, right? We made it in the future, but at least inflation is subsiding. And I think that really is not a new talk track. That's what he said at the FOMC press conference a couple weeks ago. Saying the same thing here today, but maybe being more on this global stage with other central bank members. Maybe that was a big change for it. You guys like the black background? I'm okay to leave the black background. I'm all right with that. We can see if we can. We'll test out new backgrounds. I like the frame and the look and feel to it, but hey, I'm cool with new ideas. So from that, we had a huge market rally. Not huge. Let me take that back. It was struggling early on and then turned into a great market rally, pushing these markets up even higher. And when we look at that daily time frame, this is where it gets nice and interesting, because I talked about that S&P, staying within this range. And there we are. It's your second place finisher today, up 0.51%. And it was really just smack dab right on that top line of that box. That top line I had drawn out was 5,562 and 3/4. The high, or the closing price for today, was 5,562 and 1/4. So we're basically, half a point off of closing at that line. So that's actually pretty nice move up for the S&P. Again, I'm one of those believers that when you have consolidation like this, it really represents people waiting for something to happen, waiting for an action one way or the other. And the way it closed out today certainly has a nice bullish air to it. We do have some economic announcements tomorrow, but again, it is a short closed market week. We have the markets closed on Thursday, and they'll be back open on Friday for half day. That generally will add to low liquidity, which could cause some pretty significant market moves here. I need a dumpster fire background. I had a whole bunch. There used to be this one. Yeah, there's nothing there anymore. This used to be a fire. I don't know. I'll probably not going to do it today. I'm going to try to, but I got so many things I got to get done for tomorrow. But yeah, I could have all kinds of new ideas. Just email me ideas you have for backgrounds that you think would make it fun, entertaining, that you would enjoy, and I'll gladly redo the whole set. The Trader Merlin show could have a whole new look and feel starting next week. Probably have to work on it a bunch this weekend, but we'll wait and see what I ultimately come up with. So I'm liking this. It does feel very bullish. My only asterisk for anybody that's looking and exciting about the current market situation is it's a light week. Right? Let's see if the S&P even reflects that. I didn't look at volume today. Volume actually seems to be a little bit higher than normal on this daily time frame for the S&P futures. Let's go something like SPY. Well, yeah, no, we're actually pretty decent volume today. Typically on a 4th of July week, volume is lower, particularly once we get to the day after the 4th of July is very low. But that is where we stand today. Like the picture, like the setup. I certainly like the S&P from a bullish perspective. And then, of course, you have the NASDAQ, which has a very similar picture, although slightly stronger. You know, we are at the all-time closing high in the history of the NASDAQ today. So the all-time closing high for NASDAQ futures was 20,259 and a quarter. That's not the all-time intraday high, which was back here on the 20th of June. But all in all, looking very good for the NASDAQ as well. Now, Russell 2000, which was our weakest performer for the month, still stuck within that box we've got drawn out there. Again, all three of these indexes, the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Russell, all kind of traversing sideways within a range, although the Russell looking the weaker of all three of those. To go through our markets, again, we've got the Bitcoin starting things off with a pretty negative note, down 2.37. Again, I feel that the entire month of July is going to be like walking on eggshells with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, particularly because of the Mt. Gox sell-off. So be careful for anybody who's looking at going long right now. It may start some buying opportunities once you get down around that 50,000 mark on Bitcoin, which is where I do think we're headed. I do think we'll head down towards that 52 to 50,000 mark on Bitcoin, and that will bring down pretty much everything else in the crypto space. So be very wary of that. It's interesting. My crypto class this morning for Trading Academy, we did some project analysis on one called Caspa and one called a Mint Layer. And you have all these new technologies coming out and trying to be the best of the best and create the latest, greatest, most incredible digital asset product. And the reality is most of them are just copycats of something old, trying to get a little bit of hype and a pump to the upside. So I think what we'll see is twofold. Number one, the Bitcoin will start to drag things down because of the selling of the Mt. Gox shares or coins. I think that'll bring down crypto in general, and I think what will happen is a lot of people will bail on some of these meme coins that are going to be down significantly and move back into crypto at a lower level. So just something to pay attention to. The fall starts at the top. It usually does. Fall usually starts at the top, although when you look at the market overall, I'll start with Bitcoin here, that fall is just kind of not really falling, is it? It really feels like it's just slowly drifting lower. Almost feels like there's a lack of interest in Bitcoin right now. It's the indexes here, right, where you have them ripping to all-time highs. That is obviously where does markets top? They top out at all-time highs. Big F says 50K would probably be the last buying opportunity for those that don't own it already. Yeah, I agree. And it could go lower than 50,000. Well, let's be fair. If you look at where current price is, for it to get down to 50,000 really isn't that big of a stretch. That's a decline of 16%, which for Bitcoin is pretty no big deal. Actually, 50,000, you're looking about 19%. So it certainly could happen. I would rather it didn't. Obviously, I like to see my numbers go up, not down, but I'm not selling either. I'm a diamond hander at this point, and I will continue to hold on my Bitcoin until next year sometime. All right, so that was your worst performer, crude oil, having a little bit of a reprieve, but notice where he went to. Sometimes this stuff just works out, and again, this is all, we can look at it now. I did not have a long crude oil trade. We talked about that breakout trade on crude oil going right up to that next area of supply, which was right here between 83.81 and 84.46. Notice the high price of today on crude oil, 84.38, so just 8 cents shy at the top of that supply zone. Great, nice little move. Came right into it, sold off. Unfortunately, I was in class and teaching and doing all kinds of other stuff. I may have to stop teaching here. I'm telling you, I'm missing way too many opportunities by being in these classes during the day, which kind of is frustrating. But choices we're going to have to make here at some point. For a short week, we had a lovely trading day. Absolutely toffee. And, when I did the Monday morning must-knows for OTA, or for TA, however they want to change their name, that was one of my talking points. Every holiday week, you've got the Christmas week, you got Thanksgiving week, you have 4th of July, the ones that usually have a day off where the market's closed and then a half day. Historically, those are very low volume days. And when you hear someone say low volume days, it almost equates to boring, no action. And that's not true. Remember, let's say the average volume for a stock, I'm just making up an example for you. Let's say the average volume for a stock is 10 million shares a day. And here we have a day where most of the participants, markets close and the next day is a half day and almost everybody seems to leave because they're taking a long weekend. And if it's 10 million on average, all of a sudden today it's down to like, let's say 5 million. So it's half normal. All it takes is one person who sends a normal sized order from an institutional perspective. Let's say normally he trades in 100,000 share blocks. If he sends that on a 10 million share day, it'll be absorbed. If he sends on a 5 million share day, it's going to have a much more pronounced effect. So these orders could have a much more dramatic impact on price movement on a holiday or a shortened day where the volume is historically lower, which is why I was kind of looking at this. It is interesting to me that the volume is actually relatively the same, at least for the first 2 days of this week. We'll see what happens in the tail end of the week, but I'm pretty sure you're going to see Friday's volume exceptionally low, as most people do make it a 4-day weekend, as they should. Go out there, do something fun with your friends and family, and enjoy the sunshine. All right, so that was your first piece, was talking about Jerome Powell. Obviously, the inflation piece was critical. We know that that's the most important topic in the world right now. Here is what the forecast is for our July 31st meeting. So we're a month away from the next rate announcement. Right now, there's an 8.8% chance that we're going to see a rate cut. 91.2% chance we're going to see it stay exactly where it's at. Again, I am in the camp of the 91 percenters. I do believe we'll stay there. Now, here's where things start to shift. And again, I'll probably pull this up at least once a week just to see if it's changing. At this point, the probability is right around 43%. We'll call it almost 44% that we're going to have a 2 rate cuts by the end of this year. And okay, I mean, that's definitely plausible. If this inflation number continues to sag and get better and better and better and almost go into a deflationary stage, then yeah, for sure, it would allow the Fed to, again, have that autonomy to say, well, market's doing good. Our rate cuts are not going to impact inflation. Therefore, here we go. Although Jerome Powell, I believe, is doing the right thing. We talked about this many times where he is saying, I want to keep those rates right where they're at for as long as needed just to make sure that inflation is under control. So all in all, things looking pretty darn good out there with regards to the markets, with regards to rates. Because remember, if all of a sudden we get a rate cut, that's one little extra juice for these markets. And I asked you guys yesterday, what's the big catalyst that you see pushing these markets higher? We had a forecast. By the way, I did look up that forecast you guys talked about. That was Tom Lee, who is a historic, market bull. He's the guy that thinks 15,000 on the S&P by 2030. And again, we looked at that yesterday. Do I think it's possible? 100% it's possible. Nothing is impossible. If the markets have taught me and you guys anything, it's that nothing is impossible, right? All we have to do is look back to the crude oil prices of 2020 to prove that anything is possible. No matter how crazy it may seem, oil prices went to negative $40 a barrel, which I, from my collegiate career and my professional trading career, thought was impossible. Nope, hold my beer, the market said. So yeah, nothing's impossible. I just think that might be a bit far-fetched. What you're assuming, if you believe this talk track, that we're going to see this market rally like this for the next 6 years, is that there is a massive catalyst for economic growth. And I do think that the AI and technology will be a pretty big catalyst for growth, but at some point it'll be detrimental to growth. It seems weird for me to say that, but it's just my belief, and we can have debates on that one if you want. But Tom Lee was the guy that said 15,000 by 2030. I would gladly take that bet against him. I don't believe we'll be at 15,000. Now, what about getting to 10,000? Right, that's a much more realistic target. Certainly, I think that would be plausible, and we could easily get to that level. That would be a much better percentage to achieve here. For example, that would only be a 79% rate of return over 6 years. Sure, that's definitely doable. But again, I do believe we have a market, in my opinion, that's been pretty overheated, and I think it's definitely due for some reprieve. We've had artificial stimulus in this market since 2009 with the housing market crash. They're buying mortgage-backed securities. They're just doing all these operation twists and quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, flooding the market with money. At some point, that will come back and bite them, and I do think we'll see a market correction. But hopefully I'll be short when that one does happen. The market keeps getting more and more expensive to trade. Yes, it does. Well, the good news is, Lisa, in theory, if you're trading the markets, you have more and more money in your account to trade it. So it's a net even, right? I just want to see why why did cut rates at this time? Just no reason to spur the economy. Correct, Steve. That's my belief. I think what he's getting pressure from politicians. Elizabeth Warren has been very vocal, written letters demanding that he cut rates because it's killing the unemployment numbers. Like, no, it's not. We're at 4%, guys. We are at 4%, which on anybody's radar, 4% is a fantastic number. Here is our unemployment numbers. Let me just share this with you. I know we've seen this many times before. And here's what Elizabeth Warren's focusing on. She's looking at this picture right here going, oh my goodness, look what's happening to unemployment. I can't believe it. It's going up. Well, yeah, sure. Unemployment numbers here were 3.4% back in February of 2023, and now we're at 4%. It is going up, Elizabeth Warren, but it's nowhere near historical norms. I mean, we are looking at significantly lower than historical norms on the unemployment rate. So, even if I make the argument, if we got to 5%, then maybe we have to worry about unemployment a little bit. But remember back here in 2010, you had Ben Bernanke saying that 5.5% was, in his opinion, full employment. That would be right where my cursor is right here, and we are a long way from that. So, yeah, I'm 100% with you, Steve. I don't believe that we should cut rates at all. We've talked about this before. In my opinion, the only reason that you would do that is if you wanted to put a feather in the cap of the current administration. Because doing so would give a juice to the market. It would certainly spike it. Now, it would run the risk of pushing inflation back up, but hey, if they get to their 2% mandate, the Fed can win and say, we achieved our mandate, and then I'm sure that Biden and his administration will say, hey, listen, let's just do 1 or 2 rate cuts, preferably by September or August, so we can feel those impacts and see the market move up right into the election time so we can point to that. It's all shenanigans and political games going on, and it doesn't matter which party is in place. They've always done this as long as I have known these markets. So, good afternoon, Rob. Merlina, am I dressed in drag today? I didn't realize I was in drag today. Merlina. I was unemployed in 2009. Too bad I didn't start trading then. Well, too bad you just didn't buy everything you could in 2009, right? I think in hindsight, if we could go back, we'd all just say, man, I would have loaded the boat. Probably, it's funny because in 2009, I was watching what Warren Buffett was doing. And you can't go wrong watching what Warren Buffett does. But he was loading the boat on Bank of America. So if you look at what happened with Bank of America, it was crashing. So let me just zoom in here. This is Mike. I don't know if Michael's here. Michael, I love picking on you. I mean it in a friendly way. From an education perspective. Tough love is what I usually offer. I like to pick on Michael because usually when he brings a stock to my attention, it looks like this. And this is Bank of America, which, by the way, do you guys, I'm sure you all know, what was the original name of Bank of America? Like when it started, what was Bank of America called? There's your trivia question for the day. Some of you are going to know this. Others of you are going to go, you got to be kidding me. Bank of America was not initially called Bank of America. It was called what? I know there's a delay, so I'll let that one go. Looking at this one, Warren Buffett stepped in here and started lending money. And he basically said, look, I'll buy a ton of shares and basically support this. I'm going to give him a bunch of money in exchange for shares. And I think that was at $4. So basically he got Bank of America at $4. And then he also got a ton of warrants. And those warrants basically allowed him to buy at a slightly higher price. But he still got a lot more shares. And you look at what this trade ultimately did for Warren Buffett. It's one of the unsung stories of his portfolio, depending on how long he held that. Right? If he held it through till today, buying in at $4, that thing peaked out at right in there at $48, $50. That's a pretty damn good trade over the course of a few years. So, there's a lot I could look back here and regret. I would say there's 2 things that drive me nuts. I've certainly mentioned this one to you before, but when I look at Skyworks, so I used to have a lot of shares of, I can't even remember the stocks. It's been so long ago. Skyworks was a spinoff from a company called Connextent. And I bought my house here in Southern California in 2009, and I sold, it was in March, so it would be right where my cursor is at right here. I sold thousands of shares of Skyworks to get enough money to make the down payment. That's when Skyworks was at $8. $8 and change, probably a little bit lower. I think it was like 5 or 6 when I sold my shares. So there you go. I sold out, let's say, $6 a share. Skyworks went over the next 10 years up to over $200 per share. That's one of those ones you look back and go, God, I had thousands. I had a lot. So kind of that's one I definitely regret. But, you know, the long-term investor, you're going to do well over time if you're buying at deflated prices. And again, you know, Warren Buffett's the master of doing that. Futures trader wins the award. It is really called, I Googled it, so I cheated, but Bank of America was really, yep, Bank of Italy. Isn't that weird? The Bank of Italy was the Bank of America. You know, I could just imagine these Italians going, hey, mamma mia, no one want to come to our bank. No one, what do you think we mafioso? Hey, I got an idea. Let's change the name to a Bank of America. And here we are. Sorry for my Italian friends out there with the verbal cursing with my hands. Yeah, it was an interesting name change. But hey, one of the most prominent banks. And I think if you were to go back and look at BAC at this time, you know, you have to ask yourself, is Bank of America going to go under? Was Bank of America going to die at this point? And I was telling myself, there's no way. There's no way that Bank of America would go under. Now, granted, I didn't think that Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers would go under either, but I do believe that there are a couple firms today that are too big, that they just absolutely would not let them fail. The three that come to mind would be Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and the biggest one out there that they'll never let fail. So if this company drops like 90%, load the boat, buy everything you can. JP Morgan, right? JP Morgan, there's no way they'll let that one go under. It's just too, here's JPM's chart. It's just too influential on the grand scheme of things for the United States. And there's just no way you'd let that one die. No, man, that has been a great rally since those lows. Remember that whole, that big panic we had? I wrote the article. I said 3 stocks I'm buying right now. I believe, I can't remember when I wrote that article. I could probably 2023. And one of them was JP Morgan, another one was Bank of America, and the other one was Schwab. Let's see what Schwab has done since then. Oh, Schwab, not too bad. Lehman Brothers given, yep, not only them, but by several others, you know. I think my favorite part about that whole financial crisis was watching Jim Kramer lose his 4-letter S word on public TV where he's saying, Bear Stearns is totally safe. You have no risk at all by buying Bear Stearns. They have no problems at all. These people saying they're going to go under know nothing. He was screaming. Look it up on YouTube. It is one of the most epic meltdown rants in the history of television. And basically, he was totally wrong. Bear Stearns went bankrupt just a couple weeks later after that. It was pretty fun. All right, let me see. Mike Lewis says, the Bank of Corleone. Hey, forget about it, I bought some Exxon Mobil the day oil was at -40 because they wouldn't let you trade it. Still own the Exxon. Nice, Steve. So they would not let me buy oil-related futures. I was trying to buy USO. I actually ended up getting UCO at that time, which was, I got lucky. I got a few thousand shares of UCO when that happened, and I held on to those, doubled my money, and then I dumped it, but I really wish I would have held UCO because UCO at a split adjusted price was $3.34 over the next year or so. It was up at 55. So yeah, there's I think one of the cornerstones of trading is value investing is a tough one for me to kind of define and wrap up in a nutshell and say I'm a value investor. I'm not a value investor, but what I think is true, and I think you guys would all agree with this. If you find a market, an asset, a company that you know is a staple, something that's probably going to stick, like Amazon. There's no way Amazon's going to miraculously just go disappear and go bankrupt. But if they drop 50, 60, 70%, then you look at that and go, I know it's going to come back. And it may continue. I may buy it at a 50% discount. If it does continue to go down, I have to be okay with that. Maybe I'll sell calls against it to offset those losses. But I know over time it's going to come back. That's kind of my thought track with Boeing, and I'm disappointed that Boeing didn't drop low enough to get to my entry price. I was looking for 140. It's definitely come creeping back down here, but the last few weeks it's been on a rally. I'd love to get back into 140. Tesla. I didn't think Tesla was going to go anywhere. I actually was selling the 110 puts. I got executed on, or 120 puts? What was it? What did I get? No, it was the ones, I sold the 160s and sold out at 165. And, I'm regretting that one because here it is rallying. And I've been very bullish on Tesla. I like Tesla. I think it's going to keep on going. But I just sold my strike prices on my calls a little bit too close to price and got taken away. So I have a lot of regrets. But, hey, bottom line is if over the course of time your accounts are growing, don't have regrets. Buffett owns Siri, I believe. If it has made a strong move up, let me check that out. I'm not sure if he does. I didn't see it on his list. Let's see. So if you want a resource for this, there's one site, and again, don't pay. Don't pay. Tulin Sai. Sign up for the meeting this Sunday. About what time is my price? Which one? So are you for, there's two different events we're doing. We're doing one event that starts at 9 a.m. Is that the one you're talking about? Or the one that starts, I think there's a mastermind at the end of the day in the evening. And that one I don't know. So let me go and share this with you. It's called Guru Focus. Guru Focus, you can go click on your list of real-time gurus. And of course, Warren Buffett is the biggest guru out there. At least that's what they say. Let's see if he's got a big position of Siri. Scroll down here. I don't see Siri on his list. He's got 42 holdings, and I do not see Siri as of current. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't own it. Just not quite sure if this has been updated recently or what, but it's not showing him own any Siri right now. It's also showing him owning 0 Apple. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Siri's way down here near the bottom. So he does own some Siri. He's got 36 million shares. That's nice. Let's see. 3 months change, waiting. I think that he is down 8.85% on his Siri. So he's been buying for a while, I guess. Yeah, I missed it. I was going too quick. Sorry. You know, it's funny. I have my phone over here, and every time I say the word Siri, my phone lights up and starts documenting everything that I've said. So I've got these huge window of messages on my phone right now because I've said Siri 4 times. Anyway, yeah, there it is. It's near the bottom. It's a small portion of his holding. If you look at, let's go look at the actual dollar value. No. So this is in thousands of dollars. So that would be, I don't think that this is right. I don't think he's got $142 million worth. Oh, maybe he might. He might have $142 billion worth. If that's the case, he's got $13.5 billion worth of Apple. He's got a lot in there. It is looking good. And I was going to actually bring that up to you today, Michael, because, I've been saying Siri looks like trash, and I'm saying you got to wait for it to make a higher high, and we've done that as of today. So you see this most recent pivot right here on the 21st of June, little shooting star, sold off from that, didn't make a new low, and now broke it. So this is an extremely positive sign for Siri. Even though I wouldn't buy it, I don't care. I think Siri is a dead business. I do not think Siri will make it at all long term. But hey, could there be a rally? Could there be a bounce? Sure. Who listens to Siri in their cars? Nowadays it's all streaming services, and yes, Siri's one, but people have Spotify, and now you can just get Spotify in your vehicle, and I get commercial-free, uninterrupted. Now, if you want to listen to, Howard Stern or Joe Rogan or whoever the latest podcaster is, great. That might be for Siri, but I just don't see that big of a percentage of the population jumping in there and buying Siri. So, technically, this looks great, right? Obviously, your next stopping point is going to be right around $3.20. If you can get above $3.28, now you're looking at $4. It looks pretty good. Well, Lisa, I listen to my radio as well. But I hate the radio. Every time I turn on my dang radio, it's some commercials that I just don't like. Yeah, he does. He owns shares. We just looked that one up. Again, that's not the determining piece that tells me to buy it. He also owns Paramount Global, which is down 88% on. So there you go. You have Sirius? I wouldn't picture you'd have Sirius. Now let me ask you, why do you have it? Lisa listens as well. I know to call and get them to reduce yearly free every year. What is it about Sirius that you pay that subscription for what? What is it? Is there a specific program, a specific show? What do you guys like about it? I'm just curious. Steve Wolf says listen mostly to sports talk. All right. For me, I would just stream that from the web. There's so many great sports talk people. And again, with your phones now, you can actually hit a button, your phone connects to your whole stereo system, and now you can have any show that you want at any time without paying an additional fee to Siri. Just curious. All right. Thoughts on net? Do you think that the trend has changed back to the upside? Bought this at $83 in April before it tanked. Been holding on ever since. Uh-oh. I'm afraid to look at this chart for you, Alejandro. Every time someone says I've been holding on to it ever since, like, oh boy. Yeah, absolutely. I think the trend has changed. I mean, this downtrend that you saw forming from back in February of this year on that bad earnings announcement gap down, it sold off, and now all of a sudden you're ripping to the upside. So yes, I do think you'll see this gap close, which is going to put this right around $89. And then I think you'll probably see a little bit of a sell-off, and then we'll see if it just moves back to the upside. All in all, if you look at the longer picture chart, it's still showing an uptrend, right? If you go back to early 2023, it's been making higher highs and higher lows. Granted, this pullback that happened in early this year was pretty significant, but it didn't break this pivot low from October of 2023. So all in all, yeah, I'm okay with Cloudflare. It certainly has a great trend in the short term over the past month. So yeah, we'll leave that one there. All right, let's see. What do we got? I listen to Bloomberg when driving during work hours and various music stations. I have a huge variety of music likes. Me as well. In the Midwest, you don't get any signal except for Verizon. That's a challenging part. I like Ozzy's Boneyard and the Hair Nation. All right, cool. $6 monthly is no big deal. That's fine. And again, it's just something that's not for me. But hey, I'm glad you guys use it. And maybe I'm wrong that this many people use Siri. But you know, Warren Buffett holds it for a reason. He's not a stupid man. He certainly knows what he's doing. My parents have Siri because they have channels for 50s music that no one else has. See, my difference is I collect music, so I have hard drives of hundreds of thousands of albums, and I build my own mixes of 50s, 60s, 70s, which is why I love doing DJ stuff. It's always fun to do. Okay, so let me real quick, while you guys keep chatting, I want to real quickly look at another chart here, and that's obviously going to be that Tesla time frame, or Tesla chart. Tesla just went gangbusters over the past couple of days. If you don't believe that information is leaked out early, then you are mistaken. Those numbers came out about deliveries and inventory production numbers, and they were down from year over year, but they beat analyst estimates as far as deliveries go for Tesla, and that just caused a giant spike today, up 10.2%, which is one of the primary reasons your NASDAQ did so well. If I look at our Magnificent 7 here, let me scroll down to the Magnificent 7 section on my screener here. Come on, where is it? There it is. You had a lot of good-looking numbers. The only one that was really negative was NVIDIA, which, let's be honest, it's due for a breather. Amazon was up 1.42%, looking great. Key part about this one, we broke through all-time highs, and now we are seeking out a new all-time high. Amazon is one of my favorite companies. Larry's as well. It's funny Larry talked about this one. Apple up another 1.62%. So the changing of the guard certainly has happened again for the top spot in the United States as far as who is the most valuable company. Lee says Tesla's a little overbought today. Absolutely, I think it's overbought. But remember, overbought doesn't mean that it's going to come down. I'm looking back over here through this price action in the tail end of 2023 and early 2024, trying to find a spot where I think that there might be a good deal of supply, and I don't see any. You know, you have some unfilled gaps, but I don't really see anything. I mean, you're pretty much at one. Literally at 233, call it 234, is your real next area of supply, but it's not, I wouldn't call that a great area of supply, but 234 is pretty much your next spot, which will probably hit tomorrow. I mean, this thing has been just phenomenal. Yeah, Big F says Microsoft all-time high. You know, this market's just looking better and better and better. Let's go look at, I want to bring up FinViz because I haven't seen, I want to just curiously see what the leader is. What's got the biggest market cap? Because it's been leapfrogging back and forth. Who do we got? So NVIDIA was number one. Now it's back to 3, but they still are. There's three $3 trillion corporations. Now Amazon's making a nice run. It's back into the 2s. So you've got Google and Amazon are the only $2 trillion companies. And then you have NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft have breached that $3 trillion. And Microsoft steadily going and going and going. 3.41 trillion right now. Who knows? Nice little rally here, rate cut, and you can see this thing hit $4 trillion in no time. All right, love it. I'm not giving up my 8 tracks. Steve, your 8 tracks may actually be worth something. They may be worth a lot of money depending on what 8 tracks you have. I've shown you guys this before, which is my analogy of the crypto industry evolving like the auto industry. Not crypto, but digital asset industry. And so I did a whole example in the car. I have a really cool one that I'm going to use this Sunday. I'm giving a presentation. My presentation, by the way, is after lunch. I saw that Tsai, I'm not sure exactly what time, but I know it's going to be after lunch. I'm near the end of the day. I'm always saving me for last. I like to go first. I like to set the tone. Instead, I get to close it out. But I'm going to do a really interesting piece, in my opinion, about music industry evolution and kind of how that ties into not just crypto and digital assets, but all of these markets we discuss each and every day. My whole watch list here. Let's just scroll down. I can go through my watch list. You got equity indexes. I've got currency forex markets like the euro, the dollar, the yen, the pound. I've got metals and commodity markets. I've got grains, wheat, corn, soybeans, cotton, all the cryptocurrencies. And then I've got these tech stocks. Those are all going to be much more digital in the next few years. And my argument is you should learn how that industry functions, what the strengths and weaknesses are of it. There's a lot of scams, a lot of fraud, a lot of shysters, a lot of pump and dump garbage. But I think that there's going to be a tremendous shift here, and those who understand it will be much more prepared when they finally do see it. So if you're trading options, great. Your options marketplace will evolve and will no longer be on these exchanges like you have them today. They'll evolve into a pure digital or decentralized marketplace on a blockchain. Let's they save the best for last. Apparently they do, Lisa. Tom says Tesla continues in its downward channel since November 2021. Still about a year away from getting into your proper auto valuation. See, this is where I'm starting to differ more and more in our opinions on this one. Tom still is saying that this is predominantly an auto play. I kind of disagree. I do. I have to disagree. And it's all right. We can always disagree. Yes, they're auto. If we go through those peaks, even if I take the most extreme peak here, which is right there, and cut through that, we have broken that trend from last year. Now, if I can go further back, right, which is what Tom is talking about, I mean, that is a gorgeous downward trend line that, in my opinion, you actually broke it today, right? Well, how do I know? Because remember, trend line is drawn from, you take 2 points of contact. So you got the first one here, which is November 4th of 2021. Second point of contact is here on January 4th of 2022. And third point confirms it, right? So you draw the line with the first two. The third point confirms this downtrend. And now all of a sudden we can go forward here and look for any touches on it as a potential sell point. We got a perfect example of that back in July of 2023. It hit it, sold off from there. Same thing happened back here in December of 2023, and we have now broken above that line. So technically, Tom, I would argue that is broken, but I also don't agree that Tesla is just a car company. I believe they're a technology firm. I'm becoming more in the camp of they're a technology firm. They have the most advanced AI for self-driving vehicles. I know you may say Waymo or some other companies may have better. There is nobody on the planet Earth that has as much data collected from driving analytics as Tesla, since every vehicle they have on the road is collecting data for them 24 hours a day. They're miles above anybody else in that space. Now, is it the best technology, using that versus LiDAR or something? That's a debatable one we could have with an auto industry expert. But Tesla is also an energy company with the power walls and solar cells and batteries. I think that they're a little bit more, use linear regression tool. Okay. Yeah, Tesla delivery second quarter. Yeah, the numbers were pretty good for Tesla's deliveries. I believe, I can't remember off the top of my head what those numbers were, but they definitely beat expectations. And they were less than the previous year. I believe it dropped 4% year over year. But they beat the analyst expectations, which of course is what more people are interested in, is the analyst expectation number. What did they deliver? They hit a record 484,507 deliveries just in Q4. Almost 500,000 vehicles in Q4. That is unbelievable. There you go. And in April, the global first quarter deliveries totaled 386,000, undercutting even the lowest estimates and marking the lowest quarterly deliveries since Q2 of 2022. There you go. Bro, Elon, hate the car. I'm not a fan of the car either, but the discussion isn't a love or hate for anybody. It's just, is Tesla a car company exclusive? Because Tom brought up a really good argument in the past, which was, look, it was extremely overvalued compared to other automakers like General Motors, Ford, Toyota, Honda. It'll have a reversion back down to quote-unquote normal car company levels. However, I think that they're beyond just a siloed car company with their technology. But that's just differences of opinions. Thoughts on Nike? Yeah, I was actually trying to sell some puts on Nike the other day on their earnings, but the premium just wasn't there for me, so I forego that one. Look, I think Nike will ultimately turn around and become better, but this is not a good picture for them. They've really been selling off for a long time. This goes all the way back to 2021. Nike was just up over 100, 178, 180, 179 was their high price back in November of 2021, and they've been selling off pretty much ever since. So I really didn't like the premium it gave me. I was trying to sell much lower level. I was actually looking at the $60 strikes because that's this low point from 2020, the COVID lows. And I was like, hey, no reason for me to jump and rush to buy this thing, but the premium at $60 just wasn't worth it. Nike trades in $5 clips, or the options I was looking at was in $5 clips. So I was either, I could do 75, 70, 65, or 60s, and I went, nah, I wanted the 60 or not. So I wouldn't buy it here, even though I do think Nike will be fine long term. I do think it'll get back on its feet and move up, but going into the Olympics, maybe that'll spur it up a little bit, but it just doesn't look great right now. This is definitely catching a falling knife, and in my opinion, it hasn't hit the floor yet. Canoe making a move in the last few days. Yeah. The Canoe, man. I really want this company to survive. I really do, but I got out of mine. I made a very nice profit on that one, and I noticed it's been moving. I didn't know it got back down to 160. My previous level, I ended up buying it was 131. That's why I got marked out here. I would have been fine trying to buy back at 131 again, but good. I hope it makes it. Godly trading. What's that? Godly trading wisdom in sealing Elon premium stock have a value plus hype plus bad PR. Well, love him or hate him, he gets stuff done. I'm of the opinion I like it when somebody actually just gets things done, even if they ruffle a couple feathers, even if they're unorthodox and kind of quirky and strange. I watched an interview with this gentleman. He actually went out to their rocket ship launch of the Starliner, not Starliner, but the big giant one. It's one of the most uncomfortable interviews I've ever seen. I was just like, I'm almost embarrassed for the guy. The guy didn't ask Elon any questions. He was just saying really exciting statements like, wow, I can't believe how big it is. Elon would just go, It was really kind of awkward. Yeah, top S&P performer. I mean, it does look ugly for a little bit, but Tesla has just been screaming up ever since. I regret that I got rid of my shares at 165. And that's a problem. Like, I'm sure Don Fron is loving it because he has been loading the boat on Tesla for a while, so this is he's glory days. He's probably got a new Corvette by now. All right, let's wrap this up. So tomorrow, there's really nothing going on from the earnings front. There's nothing exciting this week. It's quiet, and then next week is when things start to get better. The only company that I remember for tomorrow, Constellation Brands, is reporting earnings, so that'll be an interesting one. That's going to be before market open. Other than that, not a lot going on. I do have your economic data, so let me check this for you right now. Economic calendar, you've got FOMC meeting minutes. Now, again, Jerome Powell, I think, revealed his hand today at that press conference or at that presentation he gave in Europe. However, the FOMC meeting minutes tell us much more detailed information about what all the voting members may be thinking from the FOMC. So that may cause some ripples in the market. That's going to be during the trading day. It'll be at 11 a.m., so keep your eye on that one. I think my computer time is off here, so sorry about that. But yeah, at 11 a.m., this should be... Let's check here. Yeah, this should be Pacific time. I'm just making sure because sometimes my clock gets reset here. Pacific time. Yep. All right. So it says right now it's 1:53, so we clearly know I'm an hour off. But anyway, it says 11 o'clock FOMC meeting minutes tomorrow. That'll be probably your only really big piece. You do have final services and ISM services PMI numbers as well as factory orders. And you also have Lagarde will be speaking tomorrow as well. She spoke today as well, but she'll be probably doing the closing arguments for that conference in the UK. Yes, UK elections this week. Watch out, GBP. We talked about that one. They're let's see, where did I have that? British pound. This is what the talk track in my Monday morning must knows was the parliamentary elections over there in the UK. And just like we saw with the European elections, right? When we had those European elections a month ago, there was a lot of volatility. Look at the Euro USD. We've been really selling off ever since those election results happened from the Euro's perspective. So Euro been losing value. I didn't follow it close enough to know exactly who changed where politically, but here you have the British pound. Their elections they may change who is a parliament official. I think there's was it 600 or 480 seats available? So that was be an interesting one. All right, so that'll do it for me. David Warner will be on the show tomorrow. I'm hoping I have all my colors back. Not just colors, but I have all kinds of other graphics and pieces I need for this show. So I'll do my best to get all of that cleared up and fixed. That said, I may strip out the the frames altogether. I think you guys said you like the black background. I have no problem with that. I'm cool with that as well. Otherwise, you get a green screen look, which probably won't be that great. But yeah, happy to do a black background. We could do that one. SMTC. Do I know SMTC? Not necessarily knowing. Not necessarily knowing their business. No. I don't sell Nike. Okay. Forex, let's get more. David, yes. I'm looking forward to having David because I don't usually talk Forex anymore. Ever since I got burned by my brokers multiple times on spot Forex with just shady fills because they report differently, they report between the spread. So it's a strange way these firms report, and I think that they've been, taking my trades out for no reason. So I don't usually trade spot anymore, but I love looking at the currency markets because I still will trade the futures on them. Mark says, Merlin, how about turning off green screen and letting us see your actual studio? Well, there isn't. It's just a green wall. So all you can see is this whole wall behind me is just a giant green wall. Is it green on the screen? Yeah, it's just a giant green wall. No to a black background. So Margaret says no to the black. I had like 5 people said they liked it. We'll tinker around with the setting here. You guys let me know what you like more. But hopefully I can get this hard drive fixed because there's a lot of important data on that thing. All right, so David Warner's on tomorrow. If you want a specific currency pair talked about, now's the time. Let me know what it is. You can talk about euro, the yen, the pound, drachma, whatever crypto or currency pair you would like to check out. David will be with us tomorrow to share his insights into what's going on. I certainly will be grilling him about the Japanese yen, which has been a wild ride lately, and who knows that. I mean, we're talking historic lows for the Japanese yen. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for the patience again with my weird studio and hard drive and all the graphics disappearing. So I got no outro music. I guess I could just kind of do that one for you. I will see you guys tomorrow with David Warner. That was my outro music. See you guys tomorrow.